Hi guys. So I'm here to talk to you today about Adobe Draw. This is a vector-based software that we're going to be using to create our projects, our illustration project. The reason that we are using a vector-based project for this particular thing is because when you print a vector project, or when you print from a vector file and you create in a vector file, you can enlarge your project as large as you need to without losing image quality. It's different from a raster-based program like Photoshop. So a good example of a vector-based program is Adobe Illustrator. So Adobe Draw actually connects really well to Adobe Illustrator. So we can send things from Adobe Draw right over to Adobe Illustrator. You can download this for free in the Google Play Store for your Chromebook. You can also download it for your phone if you don't have a touch screen on your Chromebook. That would work as well. So once you open up the program, this is kind of what it looks like. I think, when you're setting it up, you have to go ahead and sign up for an Adobe account, which is fine. Just sign up with a login that you're going to remember. Unless you already have one for school, of course. If you do, you can use that one. So when you come in, the program is going to look like this. So you've got your different projects shown. For us, I'm just going to choose the plus so that I can choose a new project. For the Chromebooks, I would choose the Android tablet landscape. Depends on if you're working on a phone, you might have better luck working with a different format, but for this one, I think it works well for the Chromebooks. So let's just get the lay of the land. All right. So over here, we've got our brushes. Over here, we've got some different tools, and then we've got our drawing layers over here. Also very important, you've got your selection for what kind of tool you're going to be using over here. Again, when I say tool, I mean like the touch screen or the stylus. Right now it's on stylus. So if I want to make a mark on my tablet, I'm going to have to use my stylus. Okay. Let's start just with brushes and what brushes will do. So these are different shape brushes. Obviously, right now they've already got different colors on selected for each brush. The little edge of the screen shows you the color of the brush. At the very bottom, where you see just the checkerboard, that is your eraser tool. All right. So for each of these brushes, you can click on the brush and get more information. So you can choose to change the size of the mark. So here's where I am right now. If I select the size, I can move my cursor up, and that's going to give me a thicker line. I can also move my cursor down, and that's going to give me a thinner line. All right. Another thing I can adjust here is opacity. So if I select opacity, it's set at 100 right now. So really, if I go downward, it's going to give me, instead of black, a gray sort of transparent color. I'm going to make this bigger so that you can see it better. Yeah, so it's a transparent gray now. You can do this for any color. Now I can also change my color using my color wheel. So I'm going to choose this red. I can adjust the color up and down tint-wise. If I wanted a different way to choose a color, I could go also over here to RGB. Go to hex. If you know your color codes, you can choose that way. What else do we have? We've got themes. So through themes, you can choose community themes. These are themes that other people have set up. Color schemes. You can choose the app themes, which are pretty basic. They're just tints and shades of the same color. I don't think the libraries has anything set up here. So anyway, I've got a new color selected. I'm going to use it. So it's a transparent version of this color. All right. You also have over here with the brushes, you can change the brush shape. That tapers the ends. So if you want tapered ends on your brush, you can do that here. You can choose the degree of roundness of your brush. You can choose the angle of your brush. Some of these things for me, like when you first open it, are a little bit hidden. So be sure to scroll up for all of the selections. So this is going to really just change like what your brush looks like. And if you are like, whoa, what did I do? You can always go to reset your brush and it will just go back to how it started. All right. The opaque color or the transparent colors do layer over each other to make some cool transparent layers. All right. So if I want to go back to my main brush page, I just click on my brush icon and I can choose from any of these other brushes. They're going to give me different types of marks. There's an angled brush. So the more angled ones, you get this narrowness when you move your brush around, which is kind of cool. So they provide you with a couple of presets that do slightly different things, just depending on what you want. You're also getting an eraser here, and the eraser, just like all the other brushes, you can adjust the size. So if I want a really big eraser, or if I want like a really tiny eraser, again, I'm just dragging up or down to change that size. Okay. So I encourage you just to spend some time here just goofing around a little bit with the brushes and getting a feel for what you can do with just the brush selector. If you make a mistake, you can go to the arrow up here and that will take you back a step. I think it only has so many steps, so you can't, just endlessly do this, but it is kind of a light version of Illustrator. Illustrator would have a history that you could go into. So I'm going up into the shape selector. So if I choose a shape, let's see, I'm going to choose a circle. I can adjust it here. So I can make it more oval. And I can choose to trace around it like a stencil. I could also choose to use the shape and create a fill. I have my eraser selected right now, which is kind of interesting because I've never tried this, but if you hold in the center, it will fill with whatever you've got selected. In this case, it would be an eraser, which is pretty neat. So it used it just like a stencil. And go back. Let me select the color. Let's see what happens with the color. Okay, so I've got a brush selected. So I can fill with this color by holding down. This is a transparent version of this color. If I deselect it, then that's what it looks like. Let's try a different way to use a shape tool. So I can, let's try this triangle. I can move it where I want it to be, first of all. And I can change the size of it. Instead of filling this one, I'm going to use it like a stencil and draw around the edge of it. All right. So I get there like almost negative of the stencil in that case. What else can I do here? So I've got layers. These two, they're stacked on each other. Layers are layers. That makes your layers go away or come back if you're like, where are my layers? Remember this button up here. Okay, that's where your layers are. So Illustrator allows you to work in different layers. Right now, I've got everything on one layer. If you're working on illustration, say, you could make all of your black outlines on one layer. And then you can make a layer for each color. You could make a layer for base colors, and then for shadows, and then highlights. It is very, very smart to divide this up into different layers and not try to do everything on one layer. Let me show you over here with Plus, you can add a layer. So you can add a draw layer, which is what we've got right now. You can also add an image layer, which lets you put a picture in your on your page. This is really good for if you want to, say, trace something. I'm going to choose my gallery here. Okay. Let me see. And I am going to choose a picture from Google Drive. There we go. All right, so here is a photo of some line work there. Well, I've got all of this stuff in the background right now, but let's take a look at our layers again here. Maybe right now I want to look at this for a minute, and I'm just going to come over here to my draw layer that has all this artwork on it. If I click on it, I can actually turn it down to 0, or I can just totally make it invisible. I could delete it if I wanted to as well, here for my controls for my layers. So I've got my image layer right now. You select the layer that you're working in. You can see which layer you're working in by looking for the selection, the orange selection over here. So I've got a new draw layer on top of that. I'm going to go to one of my pen tools, and I am going to select my basic round, and I am going to make my color black. So I'm going to go back to my picker here, and I'm just going to choose black, and maybe bring the, yeah, it's a little large. So if you want to change the size again, you drag down. So you can flip your, if you've got one of the ones with the stylus, one of the Chromebooks with the stylus, you can flip your screen around and draw like a tablet in your lap, which is kind of fun. So anyway, I could make just a whole layer of the black outline, just like I was doing it, say, in Sharpie, you know, on actual physical artwork. I can do it here with my line in the illustration program. So, you know, I could trace around the whole thing, and then I could create, you know, another layer that I'm going to add color in. So let me change my color to just something different. Okay. So now you can see I'm in this next layer. Let me make my size of my brush bigger. Okay. So right now it looks like I'm coloring over my line because I am, but I can change the order of my layers. Oops. All right, sorry, I made a mistake. I need to add a layer, add another draw layer. There we go. And I am in that draw layer now. So yes, now I am going to color in my wing. All right. It looks like I colored over my black line, but I can actually move my line layer up to the top. Or move my color layer underneath it. And you can see that puts the line layer on top of the color. I went sort of outside here and take my eraser and clean it up. So I'm cleaning up in the color layer that is sitting below the line layer. You kind of have to imagine this is like just, you know, transparent layers that are sitting on top of each other. And, you know, if your draw layer gets in your way, remember you can click on your draw layer and you can come down and bring the opacity really low so you can just barely see it, or you can take it all the way down to nothing. So anyway, fun stuff. So when it comes time to see, there's a couple other things here. That the wheel, lets you add grids if you want to. So if you go to add grid, you can add a graph grid or perspective grid. That can help you with your straight lines. You can change the size of the grid, which is pretty cool. If you don't want the grid anymore, you can turn it off there too. The last thing to show you here, well, we do have full screen mode. That's the little square on the bottom. And then we've got the share, that's the up arrow. So you can copy to Creative Cloud. You can send it to Illustrator, which is pretty cool because it keeps all of your layers if you send it to Illustrator and allows you to alter the size and stuff like that. If you work a lot in Illustrator, it's a cool way to make just resources that you can use in Illustrator for other projects. Because you can work on your phone even to make this thing. So if you're just out somewhere, it's kind of like having a sketch pad in your pocket that you take back to your studio. Let's see. You can also send it to Photoshop, which we are not going to do for this image because we're using vector-based art and not raster-based art. So stay away from the Photoshop. There are other ways to share here too. You can save to Google Drive, for instance. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this tour and you feel a little bit more confident knowing how to get started on your project. All right, can't wait to see what you guys come up with.